Hey everyone, this is Peter, and I just want to say thank you for listening to At Least It'll Be a Good Story. And as I was putting this episode together, I thought, you know what, this needs a little bit of an introduction because there's something that we talk about that we don't really explain that well. So let's set the stage. This episode is with my friend Ryan Day, and Ryan is a writer. He's done sports journalism, freelance marketing. He ran a Jaguars blog for SB Nation. He built a Morning Brew style sports newsletter across a bunch of different universities. But more than that, he's just one of my closest friends. And as you listen to this episode, you're going to hear us reference a podcast that we did together a few years back. So I just want to set the scene for what that backstory is. Around 2012, Ryan and I started a Twitter account that was dedicated entirely to tweeting about the Washington Capitals. Somehow, it actually grew a following. And so naturally, when the Caps went on their Stanley Cup run in 2018, we thought, all right, we need to start a podcast. And it was very short-lived. We only made about 3 episodes. We had, I think, 4 listeners, and I'll let you hear, about how I found out that we had at least one listener that really enjoyed it. So anyway, this is Ryan Day, and we talk about everything here. We talk about writing, him being called by NFL security, an insane story about how he became a drummer, and honestly, there's just a lot of fun conversation and stuff in between. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the episode.
When we live all for your glory, we know at least it'll be a good story.
Yesterday, I had a pastor on,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, "Hey, just so you know, my audience. I'm not really sure what my audience is, but apparently, I'm huge in Nairobi.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have this like website that gives me statistics.
Mm-hmm.
You're a stats guy, right?
Yeah, big stats guy.
Yeah, and I had like 23 downloads in Nairobi, Kenya, the other day. Like 23 seemed like it was a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like 23 people are listening to me over there.
Right. It's like that's more believable. Like if it said something like 300, you'd be like, well, these are bots. But it's like who goes to the
Or
effort of creating 23 Kenyan bots?
or what if it's just one person listening to me? They like forgot that they were on what is it? Repeat?
It took you a beat to remember the word repeat.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As I was saying that, I thought I don't think you can repeat podcasts. Maybe in Kenya you can.
Well, downloads are, as far as I understand, unique listens because you download the podcast once, unless it was one person on 23 devices.
That's a commitment. That's a committed fan.
It is a committed fan.
Especially because I only have one published podcast, and it's an hour long. So that means they spent 23 hours of a 24-hour day listening to me, just one episode. I was at a wedding. I was filming a wedding like probably 2019, and this guy came up to me and he said, "Hey, I loved you on the podcast." And I said, "What podcast?" And he said, "The Caps podcast."
Mm-hmm. What a moment in time for
You're a hardcore, yeah, for us.
yeah, and somehow like gaining small little bits of like notoriety. Like what's his name from Barstool would continually
Nate.
like interact with us.
Barstool Nate loved us. Big fan.
Huge fan. And I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I mean it consumed most of my time living up in New Haven, Connecticut. Like
What a time.
what a time. Yeah, I mean, I loved hockey growing up. I was a big Pens fan with like Lemieux and Yager,
It's disgusting.
of being a Pens
You were a
fan.
you were a Pens fan, and then you started a Caps podcast.
Well, I was a Pens fan as a child. Hey, fun fact, I was so much of a Pens fan that I was actually, side note, I was more of a Mario Lemieux fan, which
He
I
was
feel like
great.
is fair. But I was so much of a Pens fan growing up as a kid that, and this is before the internet, folks, I wrote a letter to the NHL Hall of Fame, I was 9 or 10 years old, and I asked them for all of their information about the Pittsburgh Penguins. Lo and behold, weeks later, I got a package in the mail of hundreds of pages of books and reference materials, like, scanned and, like, Xeroxed off, uh, about the, like, Stanley Cup era, Pittsburgh Penguins of, like, the early '90s.
That's one very impressive, but also like there was somebody that did that. Like somebody's job that day was to send an 11-year-old in Jacksonville, Florida, every piece of information they could find.
And I don't even know where the NHL Hall I think it's in Canada, I would hope so.
It's in Toronto, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Um, I
Some
think yeah, that was
Canadian
my
guy.
first piece of international mail.
When you said you were going to ask them to send something, I thought you were going to say like, send me all the Penguins equipment that you have. Like just a big ask, a ridiculous ask.
Yeah. Can I have Mario
show and
Lemieux's
tell.
game-worn jersey
Yeah.
from the 1991 Stanley Cup Finals?
Against the Quebec Nordiques. Nordiques? Nordiques.
Nordiques. I was practical as a child. I knew that wasn't. I knew.
Ish.
Yeah. I knew that if I made an ass like that, my letter would get thrown in the trash. But if I asked for something that could actually get done, I might get it, and I did.
I mean, good for you. Good for you to do that. I remember I had this book as a kid, and it was like, here's the address to all your favorite players. Like, I learned that David Robinson and I have the same birthday, Spurs player.
Yep.
So I think I was in 3rd grade. I said, I'm going to write him a letter,
Mhm.
happy birthday card, and just say, hey, you know what? We have the same birthday, thinking he'd care.
Yeah.
And I quickly learned that the address was just to the facility.
Mhm.
Everything in the book was just to the facility. So it was like, write Mark McGuire, and it's just like Cardinals Stadium, St. Louis, Missouri.
But back in the day, those athletes got those pieces of fan mail.
Do you think they still do, or no,
No.
they don't?
No, I don't think they still do.
What do you think they do with them? Or people probably just don't send mail anymore.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of it.
You just DM.
Yeah, if you're going if I'm thinking of, like, David Robinson current would pretty much any, like, NBA player, I feel like you have a much better chance of connecting with them, like, via Instagram DMs
Oh, totally.
than snail mail. And but the real power move.
You have a better chance of connecting with anyone, not just NBA players. Nobody's opening up snail mail anymore.
Well, but what about all the people who aren't on social media?
Who? Who's not on social media that's like a big name? There's probably somebody for them. Like, there's probably a manager that's managing their accounts if they're not on it.
Maybe Al Gore? Touche.
Touche.
Thank you.
Yeah, Al Gore's definitely not on the internet. He invented it and then he got off.
He did, but he invented the good internet, where, you know, you
GeoCities.
could go to anyone's GeoCities or Zanga.com blog or LiveJournal blog. That was a big one for me, was LiveJournal.
Yeah.
Zanga was for the darker children in our classes.
It started with an X.
Zanga.
Yeah, you couldn't. It was like any site that started with an X from like 2000, from like 1998 to 2004. It was just bad news.
I would argue that trend still continues with the social media app formerly known as Twitter. But
Fair.
yeah, no, yeah, I mean it
X.com.
X.com.
The everything app.
Yeah. The truly everything app.
You can see anything on there. You can do anything.
Yeah, you can. And that's the problem. That's a big problem. But yeah, when people were just putting like cat memes on their geocities.com page, or you know, like high school bands would put like their quote unquote tour dates, but it was like the next 3 months of like 4 local gigs around town.
Yeah. And it was all like high school battle of the bands.
Yep.
It was like,
Um,
we're playing at West Side's Battle of the Bands, May 18th. We're playing at Westfield's Battle of the Bands, May 25th. It's like, okay, we get it. You're big into Battle of the Bands.
do you think our children are going to find all of this stuff one day? Like all of our tweets, all of our failed podcasts, like all of my
Probably. This
Jacksonville
isn't going to be,
Jaguars are like, are they going to find the bourbon caps?
I don't know. They might. I mean, it's interesting. Like, how much of a digital footprint do you want to leave your kids? And if it's like, if your kids find it and then all of a sudden they're watching it one day or listening to it or reading it, whatever, are you going to be like,
Proud of what
you
I
can't,
did?
yeah, you're going to be like, hey, you got to turn that off.
Yeah.
You can't be listening to that.
Yeah. The thought, I am such a paranoid person that like the thought creeps in pretty regularly whenever I'm putting like something out there on even before like uh X, when it was like genuinely Twitter, or Facebook before that. Like I think I started to get conscious of that right after college. Now in college, if she goes back, it's not going to be a fun conversation. It's going to be, "Daddy, why did you have a fan page with thousands of members for George W. Bush?" Or like, you know, "Daddy."
Did he? Did you?
Well, so Facebook came out when fun fact, Facebook did not come out until I was a sophomore in college. But when I was a freshman and it was thefacebook.com, it was solely for colleges and universities. And what Facebook relied on was students at those universities emailing in and saying, "Hey, we want our college or university on Facebook." They would, see, "Okay, hey, we've gotten like 100 requests in the last week. Like, let's add this school." And I was the person who got Flagler College into um onto Facebook. I have the email response that says, "We're adding
Did
Flag."
you frame it?
No,
Did you frame it?
no, and it was before
When you say you have it, what do you mean you have it?
I received it. I no
Oh,
longer
oh, oh.
possess it, but I received an email at the end of my freshman year that said, "Hey, we're gonna get this on the Facebook.com."
I thought for some reason you were like storing a printed out copy of that email next to like your birth certificate and social security card, like a file somewhere.
It would be just as
When you said
valuable.
I have it, I mean, probably.
I need to go back and see if I still have access to that hotmail.com account so I can print it out and put it on my wall.
There's a lot of old internet jokes. They're gonna turn it off. If my child is listening to this, he's like done. 14 minutes in, he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
that was enough."
our children have turned this off 12 and a half minutes ago.
I don't need to really worry about them like listening beyond the intro, maybe.
Well, and I don't think I do or say a lot of things on the internet that like I would be ashamed of. If I do, I very quickly like delete it and pretend it never happened. Um, but yeah, I think my kids would just be like, "This is so lame." And then and then I'd have to remind them, "You were doing 6, 7 jokes while I was making this podcast." So like, you know, glass
Yeah.
houses, Rolling Stones, like, all right.
Same thing.
Um,
Same thing. I feel as if we need to give you a little bit of an introduction. You are a friend, obviously, great friend, but you're a writer.
mhm.
And would you say that writing's a side hustle, or is it just like what you do?
Writing has been a side hustle for me for most of my life. Equal parts because I needed more money, and also I really liked it. Um, I still write, but not in the same way. Like before I was writing, I started off in journalism, like advertising, marketing. Um,
Mad Men stuff, right?
yeah, well, like Mad Men stuff that like the character you never see is doing in the corner, like facing the wall, like editing press releases for typos and punctuation mistakes or something like that. So yeah, I did the boring stuff and then said I can't keep doing freelance work Now that, you know, when I got married, I was like, I can't keep doing freelance stuff because it's just too unreliable. Um, like the schedule is just all over the place. And you know this from being like a freelance videographer. It's like you have to tell the mother of your children, hey, I'm going to be in a different hemisphere for 3 weeks. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what's going to put food on the table. Um,
Yeah, like my wife, she was 30 with like 2 weeks pregnant when I was climbing Kilimanjaro. And she's like, well, what happens if I go into labor while you're up there?
mhm.
I was like, send me a picture. I mean,
Yep.
she wasn't thrilled, but there's not much you can do. And work's work.
Right. And so I did it as a side hustle. And then I finally started making enough money full time, um, to where I didn't have to do it as a side hustle. And ironically, the first job I had to where I didn't have to do writing as a side hustle, like involved a lot of writing. So I did, if any of your 23 listeners in Nairobi are familiar with like the Morning Brew, uh, it's like a daily email sent out every morning, 6 o'clock a.m. And it just covers like finance and tech and stuff. And I was like, there's nothing like this for sports. What if we did this for sports? And I teamed up with the University of Arkansas and started doing it there. And it grew over a couple of years to involve like a couple of dozen universities like Penn State, LSU, um, UCLA, and stuff like that. So,
So you're big into universities. You got Flagler on Facebook.
uh-huh.
Then you,
I got,
yeah. So
yeah, yeah, I've got a bit of a Peter Pan thing going on to where I don't ever
want to
leave
grow
that
up.
space. Yeah. So yeah, so writing is something I love to do. Um, but I found that like by the time I got into like my mid to late 30s, I was like, I'm not enjoying this as much as I would like. I got into a couple of legal problems.
That
Involved.
ruins a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, speaking of deleting tweets, let me tell you a story. This was leading up to uh when the Jacksonville it was the season before the Jacksonville Jaguars drafted Trevor Lawrence. And um the Jaguars had to lose out to uh get the number 1 pick so that they could have Trevor Lawrence. And there was one game, I forget who the opponent was, but they were winning in the fourth quarter at home. And so I tweeted, if the Jaguars end up winning this game, uh I'm going to burn down the stadium. Flash forward to Tuesday morning, I get a call. Uh, is this Ryan Day? Yes. With BigCatCountry.com? Yes. I'm Officer so and so with the Jacksonville's Sheriff's Office. I've got so and so on the phone, and I've also got NFL security on the line from New York. And I just want to read this tweet out loud and confirm that you wrote it. Side note: hearing your tweets read out loud by a police officer, it's not very fun because you hear it back and you're like, that doesn't look good on paper. Like,
Yeah.
it really doesn't. And so after a few minutes, I talked with the officers and they said, hey, listen, we understand because of your relationship with BigCatCountry.com, you're a Jaguars fan, you're a writer, you're trying to like drum up interest and, engagement. But you can't say that you're going to burn down a city building online.
Publicly funded, right?
Halfway.
Okay.
Props to
Fair.
Khan. He puts the money in.
Yeah.
But I said, you know what? When you put it that way, publicly
Yeah.
like tweeting that I'm gonna burn down city property, like, isn't a good look. And he's like, cool, just like delete the tweet, send me a screenshot of your timeline so I know that it's gone, and we'll be all good.
Do you think Roger Goodell heard about that?
I think there's a non-0% chance that Roger Goodell, like, I don't think he actively heard it. I think like he was in a meeting or on a call where it was said, but he was like, using the soft serve machine in his office or like refilling his
Yeah.
coffee or going to the bathroom. So I think his ears have heard there's a man in Jacksonville, Florida threatening to burn down the stadium if the Jaguars win again. but I don't think he internalized it and like thought about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's still impressive. I
Totally
don't think he's
impressed. I mean, I got NFL security from New York on the phone saying, "Hey, police in Jacksonville, like, check this out." And what's even more funny is I
investigate.
was in Tallahassee at the time. And I've since thought, since that interaction, I was like, you know what? That stadium's concrete. I'm not
Yeah.
burning
What a
down the
burn.
stadium. I mean, if we had a straw stadium or a wood
Right.
stadium, um, to borrow a metaphor from the Three Little Pigs, but like a concrete stadium, I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't think the NFL has ever read anything that I've written. So
That's not a bad thing.
sounds like it didn't end well, but it could have gotten worse, you know?
Could
Could
have
have
gotten a
gone
lot
worse.
worse. I could still be in jail, not doing this podcast, but they let me off with a warning. And but really my entry into writing came before I graduated college when because had I majored in communication with an emphasis in like mass media journalism or print journalism or something like that. And it was you have to write a feature article that's like 5,000 words or 10,000 words, whatever it is. And all throughout college, I like befriended this homeless man named Seamus and would always like get him pizza or like a soda or whatever and like just talk with him because I thought he was like
How,
really interesting.
how did you befriend Seamus, though?
Number one, it's not hard to befriend like a homeless man or a woman because like they don't really interact with a lot of people over the course of a day. And anyone who's like giving them the time of day is most likely going to give them money or like food or something. So they're like, if you just start to strike up a conversation with someone, like they're going to do it. But Seamus was interesting because I've played drums all my life and he had some drumsticks in his bag. And so that was sort of the common entry point. And also I don't like whenever possible, I don't stop at just giving like $5 or $10. Like I'll be like, let me spend 15 minutes with you. Let me
Right.
I want to know like I not to sound selfish or self-centered, but it's like I want something out of this interaction. Um and so getting to hear like more and more of Seamus's story and his life um was just naturally something that I just wanted to do.
It's fair.
But no, so I'd known him for years and then when it was like, all right, you got to write a piece that like could slot into any sort of major newspaper or magazine or something like that. I was like, let me do something about like homelessness in St. Johns County. And I was talking about it with Seamus actually, and he said, well, why don't you just come live with me for a week? And I was like, well, I don't really know how that would work. I've got class and stuff. And he's like, well, you got spring break coming up. And I was like, I could spend spring break sleeping under the 312 overpass with you. And after a few weeks, like I was like, no, I actually need to do that. That's going to be a great story. So, got my sleeping bag and spent a week with him, wrote about it. I think it was a good story and it kind of I can't really explain how it did this, but it opened up a lot of doors to like pretty much all the freelance marketing and writing that I did after college up until I got my first like sort of full-time 9 to 5 job.
Well, I mean, I've never been homeless. Not very many people have.
Mhm.
What was it? What was it like? What you take away from it?
It was pretty cold. You don't think about um I think the number one thing is you don't think about how cold or hot it is outside until you spend more than like 30 minutes
Yeah.
or like 60 minutes out or like when you're spending the whole day outside.
You always know you're like, oh, I can get to my car and cool off, or oh, I can get to my house and cool off, take a
Right.
shower. Yeah.
So the elements was one thing. I think the overriding emotion though was like fear because there were times where like, I remember I distinctly remember being woken up in the middle of the night because raccoons were crawling on me.
Oh,
Um,
jeez.
being afraid of like the police catching us dumpster diving behind like a bagel shop, fear of police catching you, fear of just like no, I say normal people, but like your average person yelling at you, or like getting mad just because you're there and you probably don't smell that good. Um, which I can firsthand say, like, it's hard to smell good when you don't take a bath or a shower for a couple days. So that was kind of like the overriding fear, overriding emotion of it was fear. Um, it forever changed something within me, like specifically around homeless men and women. In that, like, that speaking of that fear piece, like, I'm not afraid of most homeless men and women like I think the average person would. There was actually a news article that came out the week I was doing this like excursion where the mayor was like calling on tighter bans or tighter laws like around vagrancy and like, homeless men and women begging for change. And his like sort of headline quote was they're um they're annoying, they're scary. Um and a lot of people reacted like how could he say that? And I was like, I mean, I spent a week being homeless. Like I met a lot of homeless people that do not venture out into the public, like they live in the woods or they live like in literal gutters or whatever. And these people are scary. But this experience sort of like kind of um broke that like initial feeling of like once you talk to them for a couple of minutes, you ask them a couple of questions, you show that like you're not just looking at them like you would if you're going to a zoo. Um,
Yeah.
then all that, that stuff they put on that makes you scared of them, like it's all a defense mechanism to just like protect themselves or their community of people who are hanging out with them. So I like fully understand like why your average person might be like scared of a homeless man or woman. And if they're yelling, carrying on, they have a weapon, like that makes sense too. But your
I
average,
remember I remember one time we were hanging out in Florida and we were in your Nissan Sentra and there was a homeless guy walking down the street, I think.
yeah,
And you went up, you started talking to him, and I was probably a sophomore or junior, and you were like, "Hey, can I get you a place?" And so we went over to I think it was the Best Western,
yeah,
right across the bridge, and yeah, you put him up, and I just remember at one point you asked him, you said, "Do you have a knife on you
hmm,
in the car?"
yeah.
Which is a valid question, but in my mind, I was like, "Oh gosh, I didn't even think of that." And what are we gonna do if he says yes?
Um,
Thankfully, he said no, but uh, yeah, that was, and I did always admire just how you cared for the homeless people. You heard who they were. You wanted to be. You really did want to be their friend, and I would say 99.5% of the population, they'll give them money, they'll give them a granola bar in their car, but they don't wanna talk to them. And a lot of times, they just they want a conversation, they want a friend, they want somebody to talk to.
it's funny you say that. I had someone else in that exact type of situation who was in my Nissan Sentra. God bless that
Great
Nissan
car.
Sentra.
Whenever I
Um,
see what year was that? 2006? Like a 2006 Sentra?
yeah, it was like '06. I remember getting it my senior year of high school, which was no, it wasn't '06. It was like '02 or '03. I remember getting it my senior year of high school, which was '04, and it was used, but it was only like a year or two used.
I I can't even describe the color. It was like the most
Champagne,
colorless. I wouldn't call it that. There was
tan.
no color. Yeah.
It was
Just
very like beige. It was very
it
like
was just it was just that. It was just think of like a lack of color, but still there's some color, and it was that. But it was a great car.
it incredibly dependable. Drove it all the way to right after that homeless experience. Marilyn DeGarry and myself, shout out Marilyn DeGarry. drove to Oklahoma, down to Texas, and then back over to St. Augustine.
In a Nissan Sentra?
Yeah, Nissan Sentra. Yeah, we slept at road stops. It was awesome.
What a road trip.
No, there was another person who was in that same exact situation. I forget who it was, but I let them in, and I wasn't going to get them a hotel or anything. I think I was just going to take them like on my way. I was going to take them somewhere. And before they got in, I said, "Hey, do you have a knife? Do you have any weapons on you?" And the guy, it was like it was an older, like kind of scraggly looking like black man. He's like, no, I don't have anything. I said, okay, cool. Took him. And when we dropped him off, my friend was like, I kind of felt like a little racist. And I was like, no, like a lot of homeless men and women will have like makeshift weapons because they live a very dangerous life.
Mhm.
And they like, I don't begrudge anyone having a weapon, especially in that situation. But and I don't think that black guy begrudged me asking him, "Hey, you got anything on you?" Like, I think he was like, "No, this is a normal thing to ask a new person that you're meeting." Even if he probably meets like other homeless people, and that might be one of the first questions they ask each other. So,
Do you ask that question to non-homeless people? Because one time we were in a car in a taxi and you asked me if the guy had a gun. So are you always wondering if people have a weapon on them?
Yeah.
That's like your first thought. You're like, I wonder if they're like just carrying
Yeah.
ammo.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up. No, I think that was an instance of, uh, we had a couple of beers and gin and tonics.
Yeah.
And I think I was trying to be funny, but you were like, shut up. This
You were
isn't a
certain.
joke, Ryan.
Yeah, you were so certain that he had
Well,
a weapon on him. And I
And
was like, dude, he's our taxi driver. Why does he care? Why, like, what would he do?
and if I remember correctly, you were in the front seat and I was in the
I
back,
might, I might have been.
which if that's true would make it even funnier because like,
He definitely heard.
yeah, like if I'm the same distance from the driver I'm talking about to you.
He's between us. And you're like, "Hey, do you think this driver has a gun on him?" And I'm like, "I don't think so." Also, we're completely at his will. We're flying down a highway in New York going 80 miles per hour.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know where we were. It was
Yeah. I didn't either. And he's the one who dropped us off at that like random bar
bar.
that looked
Yeah.
like it was in like Twin Peaks or something.
Yeah. All I
Okay.
remember is that there was Mark Twain's it was like Mark Twain's friend's house. It was like some mansion on the river, on the Hudson River.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, this is where Mark Twain's friend lived.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay. I don't.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I cannot remember who that was that we stayed. I think it was like some distant relative of like
Mark
Mikens.
Twain.
Well,
Oh,
no,
oh,
like I'm
no,
talking
that
about the
night.
current, like we slept in that house and there was
Yeah.
a person who had beds for us. And I'm trying to remember who is that person.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just slept there. I was working too. It was a work trip for me, and yeah, you're like, we're gonna sleep here. I'm like, whose house is this?
Yeah.
And you're like, he's related to Mike, and we got in at like 2 a.m.
Let me just say two things. Number one, the tea and pastry shop we went to before then in like that little, I think it was Holly Hill, was
Maybe.
just like something out of Alice in Wonderland. Like incredible
Yeah.
treats, like really good tea. But
They're today's sponsor for the show. We don't know their name, but
Yeah,
thank you for the
if you're
yeah.
if you're in Holly Hill, just start asking where they're serving tiered plate desserts. Like it's in Alice in Wonderland. Like you'll get points
Yeah,
in that place.
if you're ever by Mark Twain's friend's house in New York, you'll know where it is.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll know where it is.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the show. But the second thing is, which we still talk about to this day,
Yeah.
we got on that bus. We were on the
Okay.
bus to Manhattan,
We were.
and the
Can we have to like set the stage a little bit.
Okay.
I was hired by Ryan's company to film this video in New York City, not New York City, outside of New York City at Mark Twain's friend's house.
Mhm.
And it was a gala, however you say it, for the nonprofit that you worked for at the time.
Yeah.
And so I had all my equipment, first off, like a 45-pound tripod, lights, microphones, cameras, gears, lenses. And so I'm there working, and there is this bus at the end of the night taking the guests from Mark Twain's friend's house to Manhattan. And we are on the bus, and I have to catch an Amtrak train, I believe at like 8 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah.
I remember I'm holding this tripod. We didn't know where we were staying. Well, you knew where we were staying. I'm holding this tripod, and I'm just like, I cannot go to Manhattan right now with all this. So I get off, and it was the biggest. To this day, it's a regret because I know
it's a
that
top 3 regret.
I know it would have been a great night. I don't think I would have any of my camera gear, but I probably wouldn't even be in business anymore. Like that would have been the end of my videography. I would be in like sales for medical equipment now
Yeah.
if I had gotten on that bus to Manhattan. But I know that it would have been an incredible story.
This is why David Robinson's not responding to your DMs, because you don't have the courage to ruin your life over
Yeah.
7 great hours in Manhattan.
Man, but I love, to this day, we'll go months without talking, weeks without talking,
Right.
and you'll just randomly bring it up. You'll just say, we should have gone to Manhattan.
Yeah.
And I agree. It was a terrible decision for me not to go to Manhattan. But
I think here's what I think would have actually happened is I would have talked to the bus driver, and because that bus was there like everyone's way home too. And we would have just said, "Hey, can we keep this in the storage underneath the bus?"
wait, oh, those people were coming back to Mark Twain's friend's house?
No, a lot of those people were in New Haven.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought that all those people lived in Manhattan. I thought it was a one stop. I thought it was like they were going to Manhattan and then it was on to like Newark or
No,
something.
no. It was an impromptu because everyone was everyone was pretty liquid at that point.
Yeah.
Pretty well juiced up.
Except for
These are
me.
like very
I was,
serious nerds.
yeah.
But like, yeah.
I was working, so I was like completely sober. That's why I was like, I'm not getting on this bus.
Well,
It was like a rational. I was thinking too rationally.
you were yeah, and that's the problem. But it was an impromptu thing of we have this bus, like we rented this thing for 24 hours. Like, let's just go to Manhattan.
See, I didn't know this.
Well,
That changes my. Yeah, of course I look like an idiot.
but there's no way. Like, I'm piecing this together as we're talking now.
Oh, like 12 years later.
12 years later, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, if we knew that, but there's no way I'm uncovering those facts and like making this and like connecting the dots at midnight in Holly Hill.
Is that really what it's called? Holly Hill?
I think so. Yeah.
Uh,
Let's see.
Man,
Holly Hill, New York.
Mark Twain's friend's house.
Mark Twain's friend's house. Yeah.
It was.
I love that you know that.
I just remember it was everybody. They were like, this is where Mark Twain's friend lived, and I was like, I didn't know that. Which friend? And they were like, I'm not really sure, but his friend lived here. I was like, it's a nice house. I can imagine that this guy would be friends with Mark Twain.
Can you imagine like me becoming so famous that 200 years later, people are like, hey, this was Ryan's friend's house. And it's just your house in DC or
Yeah.
Virginia or wherever, like specifically you are. But like that
And people,
you being that famous by association.
yeah, people rent it out. And they're like, yeah, we're going to rent out Mark Twain's friend's house. Like, it's still, I'm sure it has an official name, but it wasn't like, yeah, like very disrespectful. But I mean, good for him. He seemed well to do. It was a nice house.
Yeah. And I can see why Mark Twain was friends with him.
Yeah. Like, what do you think Mark Twain's friends, or I mean, what do you think Mark Twain's house was like if that was his friend's house?
It is above the Mason-Dixon, so it's probably not as bad as if, like, Mark Twain's friend's house was in Charleston in the
Yeah.
early 18 I imagine Mark Twain was
I
around in
don't
the early 1800s?
I don't think so. I think Mark Twain was like 1912.
No, that's
Woodrow Wilson years.
born in 1835.
Okay.
So,
Was he alive during Woodrow Wilson's presidency though?
he served from 1913 to 1921. Mark Twain died in 1910, brother.
Dang, I was way off.
Yeah. That's
So he
that
was for Teddy Roosevelt.
he was the yes. So Teddy Roosevelt was, like, I think turn of the 20th century.
When you read good literature,
Uh-huh.
like as a writer,
Uh-huh.
like Mark Twain, obviously everyone knows Tom Sawyer. I could tell you kind of what it's about. I remember he faked his own funeral. But as a writer, do you appreciate it differently? Like, or not really?
I think it would be kind of like the difference between me listening to, like, a classical pianist and, like, you listening to one. Does that make sense?
Fair.
Because I don't know how good that actually is. I just know it sounds
Yeah.
good and I could enjoy it, but I don't know how good that actually is. I don't have a reference point for technique or wow, you have to practice, X number of years before
You can do that.
before you're, like, even in that same ballpark. But I will say also similarly, like, you'll hear a good piece of music and you might, like, pick up a guitar or a keyboard to, like, learn it and, like, appreciate it more deeply. Like, I do the same thing with pieces of literature that I really like or poems or sonnets or what have you, like,
Haikus.
big fan of haikus,
Yeah.
575, let's gang gang. But I'll transcribe, like, sentences or pages or poems that I really like to
Uh-huh.
build, like, sort of just the muscle memory of experience of what was it like to actually write this down or to type this out. It moves your brain differently in the same way as you listening to, a really good piece of music like Len's Steal My Sunshine. Like, you picking up a guitar and, like, starting to play that, you're like, you can appreciate it a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that I like that comparison. I think that there definitely is this when you are playing the piano, for example, there is definitely this, and it's like a really hard piece. As soon as you get it, you kind of always can do it again. But as soon as you get that, like the first time you do it, you're like, oh wow. Like if it's relieving, but it's also like something clicks in your brain. You like have the muscle memory and you're like, okay, I know how to do it.
Yep.
Scott Joplin, like ragtime, where your hands are just like, you know, that's it's hard, but then once you figure it out, you're like, "Oh,
Do
I
you
got it." Like for me, I always play this is so dumb, but I always play the Roses intro by Outkast as soon as I sit down at a piano because one, it sounds cool. I mean, who doesn't like that song?
um,
It sounds different on different pianos. And maybe as a pianist, I'm like, "Oh," but it always sounds different and it always feels different. So it's like and it's just such a simple lick, not lick, but it's pretty short. And I've never thought about writing something else out.
I'm trying to remember which one Roses was.
It's off Speaker Box, The Love Below has the
Mhm.
piano intro.
Oh, it's the one with the, it's like the high school yearbook,
Yeah.
music
Yep.
video and stuff like that? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
You
so
know
funny
it.
that that's your listen, it's a great piece of music, but it's so funny that, like, uh, 19-year-old you, like, listened to that and it buried itself deep enough within your brain to where it's like, "Hey, when I see a piano,
Yeah.
I think."
Not even that. Not even 19. It was like 8th grade. I heard it and I was like, man, I'm going to learn that because people will think it's awesome if I can play it. And now I
Mhm.
play it and they're like, "Oh, wow, that song from 2004," you know? Uh,
Can I tell you what my equivalent of that is?
yeah.
Is you know the song Blink-182's First Date?
Oh yeah.
And you know the drum intro.
Mhm.
The that was
Yeah.
the thing in middle school and like that was the drum lick in middle school and high school that like if you were a good enough drummer to be able to do that and it sounded good, you were considered good.
Yeah.
But if you couldn't yet, like it was a scarlet letter.
Being able to play music as a teenager during those like teenage years, you would learn how to play. Like I learned how to play the OC theme song on piano just because I was like, oh,
Not
girls
the
watch the OC.
no.
Yeah. With Jason Schwartzman's band, Phantom Planet. It was like their one hit. And I guarantee you the only reason that that's the song. I mean, it's a good song. That's the only reason that it's uh that's intro to a television show is because it was Jason Schwartzman band,
Mhm.
who is a very talented musician and actor.
Yeah.
I love Jason Schwartzman. If he's listening in Nairobi, shout out Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah. Shout out
Phantom Planet.
yeah, Rushmore and fantastic Mr. Fox.
Mr. Fox.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can I tell you the story of how I started to play drums?
Yeah.
I bought sticks, and for years I would set up my pillows, and I would have different sized and sounding pillows like on my bed, so I could sit on a stool, and it sounded as much like a drum kit as I could make it. And then I was begging my parents for a drum set, and understandably, they were like, "Our 1,300 square foot home does not need a drum set." And so, um, and so for years I was like, I really want this, and I played on like the church set when I could, and they weren't going to have it, not because they wanted to like, you know, extinguish something within me. They were just like, hey, practically, this is going to suck if you're playing drums in a 1,300 square foot home. Fast
Yeah.
forward to 10th grade, where at lunch we sat in this courtyard, and our table that we sat at like traditionally, me and my friends, was against like this big brick wall, and the baseball team was like 3 or 4 tables away, and they would all wear their like high school letterman's jackets, and they would throw like fruit cups and puddings against the wall like above our table so it would like rain down on us.
Mhm.
So we would throw fruit cups and stuff back, and then the vice principal would come out. Side note, the vice principal sounded like, acted like Denzel Washington. Like,
I didn't know it's Denzel, so I'm glad you said Washington.
well, for your listeners in Nairobi, I just want to be clear.
That's fair. That's-
And so,
I appreciate it.
so anyway, but they kept doing this, and me and my friends decided to like really escalate the situation. And so what we did was one afternoon before the end of school, we bought 2 Code Red Mountain Dew bottles, and we emptied them out. And me and my friend Chad, whose full name is Chad Michael Murray. If there's anyone who grew up in our era, they know that a very famous child actor was named Chad Michael Murray.
You're acting like we grew up in the 60s. Like people know who Chad Michael
They
Murray
do
is.
not. They
Yes,
do.
they do. One Tree Hill's still a show. You can stream it on pretty much any platform.
No.
People know who Chad Michael Murray is.
If no, dude,
Yeah,
get out
I
of here.
guarantee you.
Put a poll up.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave it. Just if you know who Chad Michael Murray is, leave a comment that just says, I know who he is.
Yeah, comment One Tree Hill down below if you remember Chad Michael Murray.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Anyway, so me and Chad Michael Murray, we went to the bathroom.
Different Chad Michael Murray, though. I feel like we need to. It's not the same Chad Michael Murray.
Correct. Yeah, I have had no interactions with the professional actor Chad Michael Murray. This is merely my friend from Jacksonville,
Do you
Florida.
think people would go to your house and be like, "Hey, this was Chad Michael Murray's friend's house"?
I really like how you closed the loop on that. But anyway, me and Chad, we took our respective like Code Red Mountain Dew bottles. We went to the bathroom and proceeded to like fill them up with what you would expect. And so then we closed off the bottles, and we were going to attack the baseball team with these like at the bus stop, like where the buses were letting off. But they
This is
like
still the story about how you got involved in drums. I would have never guessed, but continue.
Well, that's why I had to preface it. Do you want to hear the story about how I got involved with drums?
Yeah.
So I had to hide them in my locker that afternoon because the baseball team went like a different way and we didn't see them. So I had to hide them in my locker. Fast forward to the next morning where the school resource officer brought in a couple of like drug sniffing dogs. And I'm petrified because like if a dog can smell drugs, they're going to be able to smell human urine in like a kid's locker. And the dog, I guess he was having an off day or something. He didn't smell anything. And so we went through with our plan, which word had gotten around the entire school that like our table and the baseball team's table were the only ones with kids sitting at it. Everyone else was kind of making like like standing in a perimeter around us. And we got a couple of like decoy Mountain Dew bottles. And all of us like had these sodas. Two of them were the, cursed sodas, and we threw them at the baseball team. We get charged with assault with a deadly or chemical weapon.
You do? You get charged?
Charged, but the charges were dropped. Or we
By
got
who? The
we got-
vice principal? Or
no,
by, like,
no,
the police?
no. The real police came and sat us all in a room, and we're taking down all of our statements and like saying they were going to charge us or something like that. I don't know if
That's
they were ever like
crazy.
officially done, but I do remember the like specifically the words assault with a deadly chemical weapon. And anyway, the vice principal and principal make the decision to suspend everyone for an entire week. Baseball team, us. And when I get home, because I tried to call my mom at school with the officer present, she wasn't picking up. And so the officer said, I need this signed. Like, come in Monday morning and sign that, have this signed by your parents. I was like, okay. So I had to go home that Friday night and explain to my parents what I had done at school that day. Mother was understandably like very upset, like sort of like a where did I go wrong moment, because this is a pretty bad thing to do.
Fair.
My stepdad sat me down at the kitchen table and he said, I'll never forget it. He said, "You're nobody's fucking monkey, Ryan." And I said, "Okay, I got to do better." So I was home for that entire week, and my mom actually approached me and said,
What does that even mean?
"Well, I think they saw it as like me kind of like just going along with the crowd."
Oh, gotcha.
And so my stepdad was like, "You're nobody's fucking monkey, Ryan." And so that whole next week, I was home from school, and my mom actually approached me. Side note: during this week, I went to go see the movie Titanic in
Beautiful.
theaters. But my mom approached me and said, "Hey, we want to get you that drum set." I was like, "What?" Like, I just got in the biggest trouble of my life. I think it was my mom's way of being like, we need to steer him towards like different people, different hobbies, like.
Towards Jesus, you got to play on the praise team.
And so they let me have like a pretty rudimentary drum set. I had to have like silencer pads on it and stuff like that. But that's how I got like actually into playing drums every day. And I still do to this day. It's a beautiful.
You still play every day?
No, I don't have a drum set, but I do have practice pads, and I have like practice stuff with sticks that that I'll still like practice for 30, 60 minutes pretty much every other day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a real phoenix from the ashes moment.
That's crazy that you got suspended and it turned you into a drummer.
Yeah.
So don't let the
Yeah, if you're listening in Nairobi, like, listen,
yeah.
don't let them tell you that like that you can't play drums, and don't resort to throwing urine on your local sports team as a
Yeah.
means to get there, but like really
With Chad
put-
Michael Murray.
Yeah, and to Chad Michael Murray, like, shout out to you, man.
Are you still friends with Chad Michael Murray?
My Chad Michael Murray,
No, the real one. Yeah,
the One Tree Hill one.
Yeah. No, were you friends with your friend Chad?
No, not because something happened, but because like of 99% of the friends that you like no longer have, you just stop talking to them.
Did you when you got like in trouble and your parents were pretty upset, were they like, you cannot hang out with Chad Michael Murray anymore?
No, but
That'd be a very
no,
I don't that'd be a crazy punishment to give someone.
Do you think that line has ever been said in One Tree Hill?
No, because I don't think his name was Chad Michael Murray in One Tree Hill. I don't know what his name was, but maybe Dylan.
Yeah, what do we think his name was in One Tree Hill? I can say I've never listened or watched it, listened to
Listen
Old
to
Man.
it.
Yeah, listen to an. I've never listened to an episode.
It's a talkie.
I don't think I've ever watched an episode of One Tree Hill, but if I'm going with like that era, I'm gonna go with Bryce.
Bryce.
So, One Tree Hill, Chad, Michael Murray was
Hold on,
Lucas.
Dylan. I'm gonna Lucas. I wouldn't have thought that.
No,
With a K or C? That's important.
with a C.
Okay, so not like too nuts.
I dare you to ask
Chad Michael Murray to be
other
on my podcast.
people. No,
Oh.
just ask. I dare you to ask other people if they remember who Chad Michael Murray was.
Everyone knows who Chad Michael
No.
Murray was.
Now they'll remember Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
People will remember Chad Michael Murray just as much as they remember Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
That's such a gross statement. No, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. No, dude, stop. Like,
If you're a millennial, you know who Chad. We've never even watched One Tree Hill, and we know who Chad Michael Murray. You're a millennial, right?
yes,
Yeah.
but you might be familiar with the name because it's like almost like musical, like it's rhythmic, like Jonathan Taylor Thomas. But
It's fair.
I don't. I think
John Wilkes Booth
John Wilkes Booth, Martin Luther King.
Jr. Doctor.
Yeah. Mary Tyler Moore, Julia Louis-Dreyfus
She's from Baltimore.
in real life.
Yeah.
There's an episode of Seinfeld where she gets in trouble for wearing an Orioles hat
I know.
at a Yankees
the
game.
Yankees.
And I'm glad
Yeah.
that Larry David was like, no, like, let's actually put you in an Orioles hat.
Yeah, they're probably like, what hat? She's like, oh, I want to wear an Orioles hat. But yeah, she's from Baltimore. Uh, there's a bench in Baltimore. There's a lot of benches in Baltimore that say it's America's favorite city or something.
Why do you think that is?
I don't think anybody would ever. Baltimore gets a bad rap. I'm not going to just be like, oh, Baltimore is terrible, because it's really not. There's worse cities that I've been to. But I've never heard anybody be like, oh, yeah, Baltimore is definitely my favorite city in the world.
I don't think the
And-
city that The Wire was set in is allowed
but
to be America's favorite city.
If you're just driving down the street, you'll just see these benches on the side of the road that say America's favorite city. And it doesn't make any sense. And that, it doesn't, I'm not going to say it doesn't, I'm going to say that it's false advertising. Like, there is nobody who's like, oh yeah, definitely Baltimore. And they're saying that the majority of Americans are like, oh yeah, it's Baltimore.
Should we move on to our Baltimore pop quiz section of the podcast?
Yeah. Do we have one?
We do. All right. So the Baltimore
Have you ever
Ravens-
been to Baltimore?
Say what?
Have you ever been to Baltimore?
It's fine.
Okay. I was just asking.
Good seafood. Why is Baltimore's football team called the Ravens?
Because it's where Edgar Allan Poe died.
That's right. How long was Cal Ripken Jr.'s game streak in days?
Whoa.
So like not games, but like sometimes, you'd play games back to back, 2 games in the same day. Sometimes you'd go 3 days before you play the next game. But how many days was it between when his streak started and when it ended?
Can I do it in years, or do I have to actually do days?
Well, I mean, if you know it in years, you can just do some simple multiplication.
Yeah, but then you have to, like, okay, let's say he broke it in September
Mhm.
and he started in May.
Yeah.
I think he broke it in either late August or early September.
Okay.
And I want to say he broke it in 2001. And I'm going to say he started playing either in 1980 or 1981. So I'm going to say it was 20.3 years. So 365 times 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say it was 7,000. No, I'm going to go higher. No, I'll stay with 7,000. 7,194 days. Am I close?
That's pretty good. The correct answer is 5,907
Okay, so
days.
that's not really that close.
Sure it is. You were
I mean,
like 2.5 years off.
it's a pretty long time.
That's not.
Okay.
I while you're asking people about
Chad Michael Murray.
Michael Murray, I also want you to ask them that question and see if they get within, because you got within roughly 1,000 days.
Sure.
I want you to ask them that question too.
Who am I asking this to? Like,
I
you
mean,
can
who are
ask
you
them that
asking the Chad Michael Murray question to?
Mark Twain's friend. Like, you're also on the podcast. You're acting as if like people can't hear you. Like, I'm gonna relay like what you're saying. Like, I'm gonna write this in like a post later of like, yeah, I interviewed Ryan Day, author, ghostwriter, from Jacksonville, Florida, and this is what he wanted me to ask the people.
I meant just in like I I meant just in like a casual conversation over the next few weeks, like when
Oh,
you like asking your wife, asking your parents, asking,
yeah.
you know, your Uber driver.
I'm gonna ask 20 people,
Yeah.
and I bet you all 20 will say they know who he is.
I will bet you uh, I will bet you any amount of money you will not go 20 for 20.
Okay, who do you think that there's more people in this world that know who holds the record for most consecutive baseball games played or who Chad Michael Murray is? Not in this world, because that includes like a lot of other people. I'm just gonna say in my sphere.
Um in your sphere, so it's like, hey, who can answer this question? Like, if they answer a question correctly, which one's getting the most correct answers?
If I say name a star, name an actor that was in One Tree Hill and also in Cinderella Story with
There are
Hilary Duff.
I'm if you ask 20 people that question, I'd be surprised if 2 of them got it correct.
Yeah, of course people know that Chad Michael Murray is the only. They know
That's
Hilary
it.
Duff.
Your next pod is going to be asking random people those 2 questions.
Yeah, I think a lot of people know who Chad Michael Murray is, though. I would say that more people know that who Chad Michael Murray is than know that Cal Ripken Jr. Currently holds
I
the
think
most consecutive. He's the Iron Man of Major League Baseball.
I think the order is gonna be, they know why the Ravens are in Baltimore, then they know who the Iron Man in baseball was, and then third is going to be, being able to tell you anything, about Chad Michael Murray, other than he's an actor.
You know what's crazy is when we did the Caps podcast,
Mhm.
he, he came up with this bit, and it was probably around like an hour and 12 minutes into an episode. I don't even know. I think we only did like 3 episodes. And but you did this one bit and it was so funny because you named any player on the Caps at the time,
Mhm.
and then we had to compare them to like if they were a Kanye West song,
Mhm.
which song would they be?
Yeah.
And I remember that we got a reply because it was probably the only reply.
Mm.
It's we said that Philip Grubauer, who was the backup goaltender at the time, who had started, that was the cup run. He had started like the first 3 games.
Yeah.
And or I guess no, he didn't. They switched from him to, I forget how it went.
Okay.
They went from Holtby to Grubauer back to Holtby. Um, but Grubauer was in net for when we were down 2-0 to Columbus. They put Grubauer in. Anyway, we said that Grubauer, the song equivalent was "No More Parties in L.A."
Do you remember what the justification for that was?
I think it was that there was no more parties in L.A. Like he had his fun, he had his run. He won those 2 games for us, and then he got pulled, and Holtby, played out the rest of the Stanley Cup to win it for us. But there was somebody in the comments who said, if you think that Grubauer is no more parties in LA, then you don't understand Kanye West and you do not understand Grubauer's role on this team.
Do you think it was Grubauer
I don't know. But
or
that'd be
someone who
hilarious.
knew Grubauer? So, because here's the thing, relatives, like obscure relatives of athletes will go to bat,
Yeah.
in ways that like just in ways that don't really make sense. Like what would make sense is you put it out and then someone replies to it and it's like, okay, whatever. But if you criticize Blake Bortles, for instance, on a Jacksonville Jaguars blog, you might get a LinkedIn message from Randy Bortles, Blake Bortles' uncle, uh,
Yeah.
and then a personal email, and then another personal email,
Snail
and the
mail sent to your
third
house.
personal email from Randy Bortles stating how much he doesn't like you and how unfair you are to Blake Bortles. Now, those emails I do still have.
Can you wait? I feel as if there's a lot of Jaguars connections. I feel as if you just need to tie that up to the listeners in Nairobi
Mhm.
that are wondering the Jaguars, what's your connection to them?
I was like 10 years old when they started playing. They were a new expansion team that started in 1995 and like 10 minutes from my house. Jacksonville was like an underdog to get an NFL city, and like somehow we got it. And then that was like in their first 5 years of existence, they went to the playoffs like 4 times. They went to the AFC championship game twice. So
Mark
there's
Brunell,
me
baby.
like going through my adolescence with like my hometown football team, and they're just like rewarding me immediately.
But you also wrote for them. That's why they're
Right.
no, you didn't write for them, but you wrote
I
for
wrote about them
yeah.
for Vox Media. They have like a sports channel called SB Nation, and I wrote and like led the website for a little bit called
It's not like
BigCatNews.com.
yeah. And that's when you did the fire tweet,
Yes,
right? Under
that's
SB Nation.
yes. So well, here what I actually did was I tweeted it from my personal account and then
And
included
then
that in like
retweet
an article, like a live
oh,
article, and that's how it got notoriety and got on the radar of the Jacksonville
the
Sheriff's Office. And no, actually it was NFL security. So NFL security pinged the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. So I got on the big boys radar before before law enforcement got involved.
can you imagine like 10 years from now, there's a little 10-year-old and he's getting really into the Caps, the Washington Capitals, and he writes to the Hockey Hall of Fame and he just sends like, "Hey, can you send me everything you have on the Washington Capitals?" And so there's an intern up in Toronto. He just starts, and it's digital now, so he's able to just kind of compile this folder together. And in the folder, there's that one podcast, and like that person grows up to be some insane sports writer, and for some reason, he's just like, "Oh yeah, Philip Grubauer, no more parties in L.A." Like,
Like
that's just what he like that we somehow, with our 4 listeners on that Caps podcast, we ultimately shift the reality of Philip Grubauer's perception,
yeah, and
how he's
ultimately
perceived.
human civilization. But
I mean,
I do like your assumption that our podcast is anywhere near the radar of anyone involved with the NHL Hall of Fame.
I don't know, I was at a wedding and somebody brought it up, so
Someone brought it up to you,
that's what I told you, yeah. He
but
goes, I loved you on that podcast," and I was like, "What podcast?" This
oh,
was like this was like
when
2
was
year 3 oh, it was like 3 years after, like, the episodes.
I thought you were referencing this podcast. I didn't know you were
No.
referencing our Bourbon Caps podcast.
No, yeah, we were at the I was at this wedding and this guy was like, "What's up, man?" And he's like, and I knew him kind of from high school. He was a year younger than me. And he was like, "Dude, I bet," he's like, "I've loved listening to you on that podcast." And I just go,
What?
"What podcast?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "The Caps one." And I was like, "You listened?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, it was great." I was like,
Yeah. So I don't
I
know
think we
how
got like 4 downloads,
well, see, here's the thing. I think it
2 of which in Nairobi.
well, but how do you get stats from Apple Podcasts?
I don't know. I have no idea because you uploaded your drums songs to the podcast
That's
channel.
true. Like they no longer
Yeah.
exist. They somehow
Yeah.
got where
You
my
can't even
yeah.
yeah. So that means that somebody at the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto like loved the podcast so much that they like recorded them. They saved them just so that they could always have them.
I think that's
If we're still playing out the scenario.
really plausible, Peter.
I mean, you never know.
That's true. You don't ever know. Um and the fact that yeah, like I've tweeted things or like written things that then get like years later get on the radar of someone who's got like a much bigger um reach than I do. Like I've tweeted things and not even like tagged players in them. But then they feel the need, like Jalen Ramsey did this a lot when he played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like he would constantly be like, uh, you know, uh, quote tweeting me and like,
You
saying
personally, Ryan Day,
yeah,
or like your big
yeah.
wow.
Um, I remember one time this like underperforming defensive back. Like I put like some just in-game analysis out there and he like responded to every single one like hours after the game, I guess like after he'd, gotten home or whatever. And he just was like, "You need to watch the film, bro. Like watch the film." Uh
Oh,
so I think like I think that
I do
depending on who
remember
you
that.
are and like who's boosting your stuff, I think what you're talking about is correct.
How do you getting back to the writing?
Mhm.
How I guess how do you grow on Twitter or X or like in any if you were to have a blog, if you were to like say, "Hey, this is your step-by-step platform and how to do this," because so much of it just feels like luck, especially in the algorithm, right? Where I like see a tweet, I'm like, "Oh, that's really funny." And but I don't know anything about it. So I'm not going to follow them anymore. Like I feel as if all of social media has just kind of changed because the really good stuff rises to the top. But like what's your take on it?
Yeah, it has changed. Like it's funny though because Twitter has only been around for 15 years. Like YouTube just a few years more than that. Like
Yeah.
YouTube started when I was in college, maybe. Um and so yeah, over the last 15 or 20 years like it went from more of like this um democracy where people were informing the algorithm uh of what should be at the top, what should be in front of like people who've never seen this before, to where now we have the algorithm informing people. Um, you know, and that that dynamic shift really stinks because it's like just so easily like weaponized uh
Yeah.
to get people believing whatever whatever it is like, that Elon or Bezos or whomever or Zuckerberg wants them to see. But I still think that despite that, you can grow in a digital space using tools like um, YouTube. I would not recommend someone like sign up for X, the everything app, because it's not a good app to sync a lot of like it's not a good app if you're looking for something to like sink actual investment into
When did
because
you because you used to post on Twitter all the time. Was it when Elon got involved that you pulled, or
yeah,
was it kind of before that? Oh, okay.
yeah. Because I just saw one.
Was that purely political, or was that just because you knew the you knew the outcome? Or like you knew the algorithm and everything about it was gonna change?
Well, I think it was when I think it was when I saw my first beheading video appear on my timeline. Like in 15 years of using Twitter, I was like, oh, this has turned into a not good app. Um,
Yeah.
and then there's also like um some pretty
It is
like
crazy.
unsavory stuff.
Anything goes.
Say again.
Anything goes on
Anything
X.
goes, and there's no like legal repercussions for anything. So it's just kind of become like just an AI slot machine that I'll still go back to because
Yeah, you
well,
can say that you wanna burn down like a city building and like nothing will happen.
Well, no, something did happen. Like
But you got a warning.
but there was a repercussion. Like the they 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 the appropriate legal channels were like employed, and then the police were like, "Hey, don't do this again." Whereas like I think now I think you can still like grow in a digital space as like a writer, as like a videographer, as like, you know, an on-air, like on-camera talent. But I think what someone needs to know and establish before they start doing that is like they need to pick a lane and go just 100% into it. And the more specific that lane that you are like an expert in, or at least like more knowledgeable, have more experience in than like, you know, most people, um, the more specific that lane, I think like the more successful you're going to be. And the last like kind of key difference is when I was in my 20s looking to establish like my voice and my audience, like I used other tools to do that, thinking, oh, Twitter's always going to be around, Facebook's always going to be around, Instagram's always going to be around, YouTube's always going to be around, and they're going to largely like kind of stay the same. And we've like,
GeoCities is always going to be around.
say what?
GeoCities is always going to be around.
GeoCities is always going to be around.
Yeah.
My live journal will always be there. But what I see successful people doing now is like you not using those channels to like build and cultivate fan bases, but merely using them as like pipelines into things that they more readily control. So like they might be using it to build like an email list that they can then you know, they own that contact data and they can then go and like speak to these people directly. So that's really the dynamic, is instead of like the end being that my Facebook audience is going up and it helps land me a writing gig on this sitcom or something like that. It's like these channels are merely like advertising pipelines to to get more people, you know, giving me their contact info so that I can own that like myself, and then distribute information, you know, get them to sign up for my Patreon or my Substack or whatever.
Beehive.
I'm a Beehive, big Beehive fan. Uh, I think, yeah, and I think email is becoming the new, like what Twitter was 15 years ago is kind of what email is now.
Email?
Not just email, but like platforms like Beehive have realized that like you can't just be a MailChimp. Like you've got to offer like other things. And so Beehive, they have like, you know, the ability to create like landing pages. They have um advertisers who are, you know, willing to spend um on specific categories. And so if you write about a certain something, you know, you can get $50 an email, $80 an email, depending on how big your audience is, with just these like custom ad placements that Beehive just has readily available. So like there's more sort of success opportunities um using digital and social media channels of yesteryear to just feed into things that you more so own.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And then like what if you want, I guess my next question would be, okay, so you said, all right, let's get, you know, make sure you know your lane, you know, stick get something, and I'd say that that's kind of anything, you know,
Mhm.
find a niche market, uh like podcasting and for people in Nairobi,
Mhm.
and then just like I'm going to run with it, right? Um what if you don't know what it is? Like, what if you're like, I enjoy writing or I enjoy creating this, I enjoy doing X, Y, and Z. Because I do think that as a creator, especially for me early on when I was making videos, a lot of people had a hard time viewing me as someone that wasn't a wedding videographer. And so what they would do is like, oh yeah, Peter, you're filming weddings. And weddings actually were like a small part of what I was doing. However, uh, because a lot of people were on social media, and that's primarily where wedding videos were shared,
Mhm.
Facebook, YouTube, things like that. of course, everybody, they're like, "Oh, yeah, Peter Von Call filmed this wedding video." So he's like, "Oh, yeah, he films." So it was very convenient for me because I was, all my friends were getting married and they're like, "Hey, can you film my wedding video?" So that was nice. But at the same time, I kind of always never really wanted to be stuck in weddings. And especially now that I have kids, it's almost impossible for me to do weddings.
Yep.
And so I guess, yes, putting yourself out there and like creating something, just going with it. But like, what happens when I guess you get, what's the word?
Pigeonholed.
Yeah, exactly. Into a type of, I don't know, genre or whatever it may be.
You just have to do it. And if that means you volunteer for something, then you volunteer for it. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think that I don't think you of 15 years ago was owed the opportunity by a nonprofit or a government agency to do something that you didn't have like a resume for, or to have like a reel to show them.
Right.
Which is why you kind of took the initiative and like did stuff on your own. Um, or learned how to explain like a lot of the similarities with what you were currently doing, and like, no, I don't have a reel for you, but like here's why that Venn diagram is like 90% overlapped with what you see here and what you're asking me to do. But like, I think that there's a sense of like, you just got to go outside. Like, you just got to like, you've if no one's willing to pay you for it and it's something that you want to explore as like, I want to be an expert in this, or this is actually the genre or the format, or the thing I want to pursue. Like, you might just have to do some of it on the side, as a hobby before you
You can start
have
getting paid for it.
yeah, before you're paid for it, and to like build up a reel. So like, that's what I did for years with online sports writing, with websites that no longer exist, to build me up in a way to where I could take a side gig with Vox Media and BigCatCountry.com. None of
Do
those.
they still exist?
Say what?
Does, Big Hat Country still exist or no?
It does, but it's like, it's just so chock full of ads, and like, it looks like a local TV station's website.
Who bought SB Nation?
Um,
Or
yeah,
didn't they get merged with someone or something?
um,
I think it was like Sports Illustrated maybe.
no, Sports Illustrated started its own. Um, Sports Illustrated, I think, was like, who bought Sports Illustrated, was um yeah, Authentic Brands Group. Nothing is more authentic sounding than a company named Authentic Brands Group.
Man, what a boardroom that must have been when they came up with that name.
Speaking of the uh color of my car, yeah, just a real like beige plain
Like
Jane.
when they were seeking investors, they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna start this group. It's called Authentic Brands Group." Like nobody was like, I don't know, maybe come up with something a little bit more creative. Like if you have to say what it is that explicitly, then if you use the word authentic, then you're not authentic. I don't think.
That's
I have
good.
a hard time. I have a hard time believing it.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's kind of like humility. Like, if you're describing yourself as humble, like,
Yeah.
you're probably not very humble. Um, and what a difference. Like, I'm thinking of the name Sports Illustrated now, and it's like, what a good name for a new sort of like sports, like a new piece of like sports media, like, that was really photo driven, and like the cover was so important. Like, the cover athlete on Sports Illustrated was so important.
Totally.
But yeah, the name Sports Illustrated, when there were still like creative people behind these decisions to be made.
Yeah. Have you written any fiction or are you primarily what are you writing?
No, no
No.
fiction. I do want. I think I texted you like dozens of times in the 6 months following Like in the first like probably 6 to 9 months uh of my divorce, I think I texted you like 3 dozen times of like, "Hey, wouldn't this thing that just happened to me be a funny movie with what's that guy's name? Uh
Wes Anderson.
no, he was in Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh, Jason Segel.
Yes, Jason Segel. Like I was like, this is like if I need a movie with Jason Segel playing me because like look at this dialogue that just happened. And so
Yeah.
that's about as far as I've gotten with it. Like I've transcribed all those things, but I just haven't sat down and been like, this is what I like. This is a script. Like I think this is a good tight script that would be a great like 92-minute movie starring Jason Segel. And then one day I do want to take my Jesus jokes to
Oh, the calendar.
the calendar. I want a 365-day, like, daily sort of tear off, like what The Far Side did 20 years ago, where they have, like, the daily, you know, tear a day away, but it's like a different sort of, like, Jesus joke.
Yeah, bring him back.
Gotta bring him back.
You know, it's crazy. It's funny that you bring up Jason Segel. You're the second. I mean, Jason Segel, great.
Mhm.
I'm not, I love watching Shrinking right now, but I had somebody today tell me I look like Jason Segel, and that's not the first time. It's been a while,
I can see
but
that.
they're like, yeah, you look like Jason Segel. When Forgetting Sarah Marshall came out, people told me that quite a bit, but yeah, Jason Segel. And then I also had a guy. There's this guy that owns this pizza place here. This has nothing to do with it, but
Sick.
similar. It happened around the same time. This guy owns a pizza place, really friendly. He came up at the park and he like gave me a hug, a shoulder hug. And I've never talked. I've eaten at his pizza place. I know who he is. And he was like, "Hey, how you doing, man?" I was like, "I'm good. How are you doing?" He's like, "Great to see you, brother." And just walked away. And I was like, either he doesn't know who I am, or like he
He
thinks
thinks
I'm
you're
someone
Jason
else.
Segel.
Maybe he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have.
Did you get the pizza for free?
No, I wasn't at the pizza place. I was at a child's birthday party.
So then why did you include the detail of you're like, "Hey, this I go to this pizza place, and the owner of this pizza place saw me at a child's."
I was just telling you who he was, how I know I know who he is, but I've never had a conversation with
So
him.
either you look like Jason Segel, but what's most likely is that you go to this pizza shop too much.
I've only been there twice.
Well, then he might have been drunk.
At a child's birthday party?
Listen, again, glass
You never know.
houses, stones.
That's fair. You know, I had another crazy thing happen to me, which I feel as if you appreciate. I was thinking about this. I was like, man, I got to tell Ryan this story. You shop at Costco, right?
Yeah.
You know how when you go to Costco, you need to like present your receipt at
Mhm.
the checkout? Somehow I didn't have a cart and I bought a 6-foot folding table.
I love the idea of you going into a Costco like it's a convenience store. Like, "Oh, let's just run in and get some." Like,
Well, I knew that I was picking up this folding table.
okay.
Like I knew so I'm not going to get a cart for a folding table. It wouldn't fit in it. Anyway, so I check out, I do the self checkout, and I somehow in like the 30 feet, I lose my receipt. Like I don't have it
Mhm.
when I get there, and I'm like, the guy's like, where? I was like, I think I lost my receipt. And so I turn around
Mhm.
and I just walk back and I'm looking on the floor carrying this huge table. And I'm just like, where is it? And I just keep walking back and forth, kind of pacing. And so then he goes, you need to go stand in this line and get a new receipt. So I go to this line and it's like the membership line where new members are, and still holding the table, didn't put it down. And I was like, hey, I need it. I lost my receipt.
Mhm.
And they looked at me like, how? But told me I needed to go elsewhere, which was to the part where you pick up like iPads. If you buy an iPad, it's that little like random locker on the other side of the building. So I had to then carry this table all the way over there. And then I'm standing there. I'm like, hey, I lost my receipt. And the lady's like, oh, okay, it's going to take me a little while to get you a new one. And I'm just, at this point, I'm just like, man, I don't even know if this table's going to be worth it.
Right.
But she goes back somewhere and she prints me off this huge, it's a full like 8 by 12, like normal sheet of paper, and it doesn't look anything like a receipt, but it just has like the table. I legitimately think she may have like gone to a computer and just typed it up like that.
Like a
Like that's
Microsoft
how.
Word document?
Yeah, like that's exactly what it looked like, and it had just like my membership number and
Mhm.
name under it. And I was like, this is good. And she's like, yeah. So then I then have to go back to the one guy at the very end of it. And he's like, oh, what's this? I'm like, what do you think? Is it like my algebra homework? No, it's like the receipt. And he's like, oh, this isn't what they normally look like. I'm like, yeah, we just had this conversation.
How much was this table?
Like $40.
Oh, okay. So it's
It
like
was a full it was a folding picnic table.
so it's
I
like
needed
just
it though.
barely on the line of like, is it worth it to just buy another table?
But I didn't want to carry around 2 tables.
Well, no, you would just go back through the line and ring up the original table and buy it again for like
But
to
the
pay $40 for that receipt.
I wouldn't pay $80 for this table,
Okay.
but I would pay $40, obviously.
That's fair. So
It honestly felt about $10 too expensive.
I assume you got the table home.
Oh, yeah, it's a great table. I'm really proud that I did it, but I mean, I just wouldn't. Yeah, just don't lose your receipt because yeah, I don't know what she was doing back there, but I really think that she somehow like just copy and pasted my purchase history from like a website and then just like deleted some stuff and hit print.
What time of day is this?
Like 10:30. It had just opened. I really needed the table.
4.
Uh, a project.
What kind of
That
project?
sounds so, that sounds so sketchy. Just a video shoot.
Oh, okay.
I needed it. So,
Still sounds sketchy, but we'll leave it there.
I mean, sometimes you're out on shoots and you just need to write things down.
So you thought, let me just get a 6-foot folding table.
Well, I wanted it smaller too, but they only had 6 feet. In an ideal world, I walked into Costco that day knowing I was buying a table. I thought I was going to buy about a 4-foot table for about $30. And I bought a 6-foot table for about $40.
Okay.
So,
So it's still it's at home now?
yeah.
What do you use it for?
Actually, right now, my computer's sitting on it.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's actually a desk right now. Pretty cheap desk. Desks are expensive.
Desks are expensive. I remember distinctly getting one from IKEA after college, spending all night trying to assemble it, thought I had, put my laptop on it the next morning and it fell. Like it
Yeah.
crumbled within itself. And then I paid the $125 to have like some Swedish man come to my apartment and like do it for me.
Was he actually Swedish? Do you think he flew in from Sweden for it?
No, but that was the joke because he had like really luscious blonde hair.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when I say that was the joke, I mean that's what I was thinking to myself to amuse myself at like
Okay.
2 in the afternoon.
There's 2 types of people in this world, and it's people that buy, or yeah, I mean, there's people that buy their desks from IKEA, and then there's people that don't.
Yeah, I think I think those are the
It
I think those are
sounded
the
way
two
more.
types of people in this world. I think that's the best. There's 2 types of people in this world. Finish that I've ever heard in my life because it is technically true, but what a weird metric to like use as a fulcrum of our society.